and welcome to our channel. This is I Think I Love My Job. If you're new here, thank you for joining us for I Think I Love My Job. This is a weekly series that will tackle all things employee experience. If you don't know me, I am Kalifa, the resident expert on all things employee experience for DeepDive, and I look forward to these sessions with you. What are we going to talk about today? What is the employee experience? Let's go. First things first, the employee experience is often used interchangeably with employee engagement. But employee engagement is actually more focused on things that are implicit and within the control of the employee, as in their energy, their sentiment, how they're feeling, their thoughts, how they're experiencing work. The employee experience, however, is more of an outcome. It is the basis for your organizational culture. It looks at all the different facets of a person's experience within an organization, from the time they put in an application to the time they finally walk out the door, be it an exit, a layoff, a termination, or even retirement. Employee experience is a measure. It is a measure of the total sum of all the experiences you're having within the organization. So think, for example, of how you look at health. Your health is actually a summary of multiple different measures, like your weight, your height, genetics, history, whether you were sick before. That is how you would want to look at the employee experience. It is the sum of multiple different things. So you want to know about benefits, you want to know about technology, you want to know about compensation, which is one of the hardest ones, of course. You want to know that you're providing a good environment to work in. You want to know that you're providing the resources to do your work well. Anything that you need to measure related to the employee experience, it has to be within the control of the organization. Because the reason for looking at employee experience and measuring employee experience is so that the organization can do something. And that's a key thing there. If you are not truly willing to act on anything that you find when you look at the employee experience, then honestly, you're not invested. And if you're not invested, it's best not to bother, because the employee experience must be paired with action if you're gonna measure it. I've been asked a lot, how do you measure the employee experience? Well, you can measure it monthly, you have to measure it annually, you have to measure it daily. You have to look at multiple innovative ways to understand what's happening within the organization. That would mean surveys, focus groups, that would mean data scraping off of internal websites, external websites as well. The aim of it is to get a picture of what's happening within the organization. So what variables should an organization look at in order to measure their employee experience really well? Think of the end-to-end life cycle of any employee, from the time they walk in the door to the time they exit the company. Think of their anniversaries, their key anniversaries, moments that matter. Think of if they go on leave and they come back. Think of a situation like now, where there is a virus and it has changed the way we think about things and changed the way we work. You want to think about what technology you're providing and what resources you have. You want to make sure that you are also providing resources for work-life balance, and you are talking the talk and walking the walk in all things you do. You need to look at how your employees are responding to your communications, right? That's a big one. You need to see if what you're saying and you're thinking as a leader is coming across the way you hope to and you want to, or if you need to pivot very quickly. You have to measure at time points in a temporal way. You have to measure during situations that are unexpected, like during COVID. You need to really think of what are the things that will impact the experience of everybody here, right? Everybody's going through this. There's life stages to think about, right? If somebody goes on leave, generally, for example, they're coming back at a different life stage. Somebody is born, somebody died, somebody got married, somebody got sick. A lot of times their perspective and their needs change at that point. All the benefits that you're providing something that allows for them to experience work really well. A key thing to understand is that everybody's individual journey throughout an organization is different. We know that. But when you look at what the organization provides, there is an underlying thread that the organization has control over and can help with decision making. If somebody has a terrible experience for compensation, that you could probably bet is something that is a thread within the organization that can be looked at and can be measured to see if it's an individual issue or if it's a systemic issue within the organization. You want to look at variables like engagement, stay-in, why do people stay, why do people leave. You want to look at turnover and attrition data. You always want to make sure that you are looking at turnover separately from stay data, because all retention isn't good and all turnover isn't bad. And so that's why you have to continuously listen. And continuous listening is something all organizations should be investing in. However, they don't. And that's another topic for another day, I promise. Often when an organization thinks about their employee experience, they also simultaneously think of culture, which makes sense. Your general experience is usually a reflection of what your culture is or your culture is becoming. The issue, though, is that a lot of organizations and a lot of leaders think that culture is from the top down. As long as they write something down and they say, this is my vision, my value, and my culture, they believe that culture to be true. However, experience culture is really important, and that's where the employee experience and measuring the employee experience comes in. You have to understand what is the experienced culture. If your experience culture and your perceived culture does not match what you have written down, then you have a big problem. On top of that, it is often more frustrating for your employees when there is a mismatch, because you've now created a reason for there to be no trust. A big reason to look at organizational culture and really understand experience is because when trust is starting to be eroded within an organization, it has to be caught fast, because trust goes away very quickly and it is very hard and often very expensive to fix it. So another question I get a lot is, if a company has a poor culture or they seem to have an overall negative employee experience, can that be helped? It can, but it needs investment and sponsorship and action on the part of your leaders at the highest levels. It needs buy-in by your managers and your frontline staff. So if you are trying to change the experience and you're trying to invest in tools and equipment and technology and experiences for your organization, it will take some time, but you can get there. It is hard, but you've got to stay with it. You've got to measure it. You've got to have short-term and long-term goals. Remember, it's not simply just a score. It is a continuous measure. Just like with your health, just like with anything else. So this is something that's doable. I hope this information can help you or your organization as you really try to take a look at and invest in, or if you try to convince your organization to invest in your employee experience. There are true outcomes and strong outcomes, because good experience leaves room for people to be extremely productive and high potentials and high performance individuals. So the outcomes are there, investment just needs to be made. If you like what you hear or have something to add or have any ideas, don't forget to put something in the comments. If you've enjoyed what you've seen and heard here today, don't forget to like and subscribe. We are so happy that you joined us. Tell a friend.